Welcome back, everyone. We're diving deep into something pretty special today.
Yeah, we're going to Hogwarts. Well, sort of.
Exactly. We're going to experience the sorting ceremony right from the source material.
That first night at Hogwarts.
Yeah.
Imagine that feeling. The excitement, the nerves, being escorted into your house.
Perfect for anyone who's ever dreamed of getting their Hogwarts letter.
Or just wants a little magical nostalgia.
So picture this. You've just crossed the Black Lake, arrived at the castle.
And now you're walking into the Great Hall. Talk about a grand entrance.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Floating candles everywhere, lighting up this massive space.
And that ceiling. Enchanted to look like the night sky. It's breathtaking.
And ghosts just casually floating around like it's no big deal.
It's incredible. It's like stepping into a world where anything is possible.
But there's also this sense of history, of tradition, right?
Absolutely. You've got Professor McGonagall there with the sorting hat, and she's talking about the houses.
She says they're like families, each with their own noble history.
Right. And outstanding witches and wizards who've come before.
It's not just about finding a dorm, is it?
No, it's about legacy. It's about belonging to something bigger than yourself.
And then, of course, we have the sorting hat itself. I mean, come on. A talking hat.
And it sings. You can't make this stuff up.
It's so quirky, but the song's actually really important.
Well, absolutely. It tells us about the core values of each house. It's like a blueprint for the whole sorting process.
Like bravery for Gryffindor.
Exactly. Loyalty for Hufflepuff, wit beyond measure for Ravenclaw. It gives you a glimpse into what each house is all about.
And then there's that line about Slytherin. Those cunning folk use any means to achieve their ends.
Yeah. It's not saying they're evil, but it does hint at a certain ambition.
Maybe a willingness to bend the rules a bit?
Yeah, I think so. A certain drive that sets them apart.
Okay, so now the sorting is about to start. Can you feel the tension?
Oh, absolutely. You can practically see the nerves in the air.
Students are called up one by one. Remember Neville, tripping on his way to the stool?
And Ron, practically sweating with anxiety.
It makes you wonder what's going through their minds, right?
Yeah, I mean, the hat doesn't just judge on appearances. It sees into their thoughts, their potential, even their fears.
So even though Neville seems clumsy and Ron's all blustered, there's something deeper there.
Something that makes them Gryffindors. That's the magic of the hat, I guess.
And then it's Harry's turn. All eyes on him, whispers start going around.
You can tell he's feeling the pressure, the weight of all those expectations.
And what happens inside the hat is fascinating. That internal struggle, that fear of being put in Slytherin.
It's such a powerful moment. It shows how much Harry wants to be different from Voldemort.
And it seems like that fear, that choice, actually influences the hat's decision.
Yeah, it does. And finally, the decision is made. Gryffindor.
The relief on Harry's face, the Weasleys going wild, it's this huge moment of celebration.
And then there's Snape. That look he gives Harry, the sudden pain in Harry's scar.
It's subtle, but it's important, right?
Oh, absolutely. It foreshadows their whole relationship, that complexity, that tension.
Like a seed of darkness planted right in the middle of all the celebration.
Exactly. And it reminds us that the sorting hat doesn't always get it right.
Or maybe people's choices can defy even a magical hat's judgment. It makes you think.
It really does. And then, after all that anticipation and nervous energy, it's time for the feast.
Yes.
The feast. Mountains of food. Roast beef, chicken, desserts galore.
It's like a wonderland of deliciousness. But it's more than just food, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's symbolic. It's warmth, abundance, acceptance, everything Harry's been deprived of with the Dursleys.
It's like Hogwarts saying, "Welcome home, Harry. You're safe here."
And then, as if the food wasn't magical enough, Harry meets nearly headless Nick.
Ah, yes, the Gryffindor ghost. The name says it all, doesn't it?
He's obsessed with the house cup, always up for a good haunting.
But he's also got this goofy charm. He really adds to the feeling that Hogwarts is this living, breathing place.
Full of history and quirky personalities. Exactly. And then, of course, we have Dumbledore's welcome speech.
Nitwit, blubber, oddment, tweak. What was that all about?
Well, it's Dumbledore, isn't it? He's this incredibly powerful wizard, respected by everyone.
That he doesn't take himself too seriously.
Not at all. He embraces the absurd, the quirky side of life.
Yeah.
And it sets the tone for the whole school.
It's like he's saying, yes, we're here to learn magic, but we're also going to have fun.
And embrace the unexpected. Be a little bit silly along the way.
And after the feast, we get a glimpse of Hogwarts after dark. The moving portraits, the secret passages.
Oh, it's so enchanting. But let's not forget about Peeves.
Oh, Peeves, that mischievous poltergeist always causing trouble.
He's like the embodiment of Hogwarts' wilder side, a force of pure chaos.
But even Peeves has to answer to someone, right? Remember the Bloody Baron?
Ah, yes, the Slytherin ghost, the only one who can control Peeves.
It's a reminder that even in a world of magic, there are boundaries, there are consequences.
Exactly. Even chaos needs to be kept in check sometimes.
And finally, after all the excitement of the day, Harry arrives at the Gryffindor common room.
Oh, that cozy haven, warm, inviting. A perfect escape after such a whirlwind of a night.
Full of squashy armchairs, a crackling fireplace. You can practically feel the tension leaving his shoulders.
It's like that moment of finally exhaling, of finding your place, your people.
It really is. And that's exactly what it's meant to be. A haven, a place of belonging. The beginning of everything for Harry.
Absolutely. It's where he'll make his closest friends, face his fears, and ultimately grow into the wizard he's meant to be.
It's amazing how much happens in just one night at Hogwarts.
I know. From the grandeur of the Great Hall to the quirks of the ghosts.
The tension of the sorting, those first hints of challenges to come, it's all there in that one evening.
It really sets the stage for everything that follows. And it makes you think, what if Harry had been sorted into Slytherin?
Now that's a question. Would he have embraced the darker side, or would he have challenged those stereotypes from within?
We'll delve into that what-if scenario and uncover even more layers of the sorting ceremony after a quick word from our sponsors. Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking about that what if,
What if Harry had been sorted into Slytherin?
Yeah, it's a big one, right? Makes you really think. Would he have gone down a darker path?
Or would he have been this force for good, like challenging those stereotypes from within Slytherin?
It's fascinating to think about. But even as a Gryffindor, his sorting wasn't exactly simple.
Oh, right. The hat did hesitate, didn't it? Like it was sensing both light and dark in him.
Exactly. It saw that conflict, that inner struggle.
And that fear he had, of being put in Slytherin.
Right. That fear seems to have actually influenced the hat's decision.
Like even magic can't completely ignore free will.
It's like even with a hat that can see into your soul, the choices you make still matter.
Harry's desire to be different from Voldemort, to choose a different path, it really shaped his destiny.
Absolutely. And that theme of choice versus destiny, it runs through the whole series.
Yeah, Harry's always facing those crossroads, those moments where he could choose an easier, maybe even darker path.
But he always comes back to those Gryffindor values. Courage, loyalty, standing up for what's right.
Even when it's hard.
Even when it's dangerous. So the sorting hat might set you on a path, but it doesn't define your whole journey.
You still have to make those choices, those decisions that shape who you become.
Exactly. And speaking of choices, let's talk about those values that each house embodies. We've talked about Gryffindor, Slytherin.
But what about Hufflepuff? What does it really mean to be a Hufflepuff? They often get overshadowed, don't they?
They do, but their values are so important. Hufflepuffs are known for their hard work, fairness.
Their loyalty, they're the dependable ones, always there for their friends.
Right, the unsung heroes, the ones who hold everything together.
And then you have Ravenclaws.
Yeah.
The intellectuals, the ones who love learning.
Always curious, always asking questions, pushing the boundaries.
It's amazing how these different values, different personalities, create both harmony and conflict in the wizarding world.
Yeah, like that classic Gryffindor-Slytherin rivalry. It's almost like a battle of opposing forces, right?
Hey, good versus evil. But I think it's more nuanced than that.
You're right, it's not so black and white. Remember what the hat says about Slytherin. Those cunning folk use any means to achieve their ends.
It's not saying they're evil, but it does highlight that ambition, that willingness to bend the rules.
And those qualities can be used for good or bad, depending on the person. Like Snape, for example.
Right, he's complex, flawed, but ultimately fights for what he believes in.
And even within Gryffindor, you see variations. Neville starts off timid, but becomes incredibly brave.
And Ron, with all his insecurities, he proves his loyalty over and over again.
The sorting hat isn't about putting people in boxes. It's about recognizing their potential and giving them a framework to explore it.
And to challenge those expectations, right? To grow and evolve beyond those initial labels.
Exactly. And it's important to remember, all four houses, with their strengths and weaknesses, they're all essential.
Like pieces of a puzzle, fitting together to make a whole.
It's a beautiful analogy. And the sorting ceremony is where that puzzle starts to take shape.
It's not just about understanding ourselves. It's about understanding the people around us.
Recognizing that we need all types of people. the brave, the loyal, the witty, the ambitious, to create a harmonious society.
And that brings us back to Harry's experience of the sorting ceremony. What were his first impressions of Hogwarts like?
Well, I think it was pure awe and wonder. That feeling of stepping into a world completely different from anything he'd ever known.
Yeah, remember those sensory details? The fluting candles, the enchanted ceiling, the sheer size of the Great Hall.
It's such a contrast to the Dursleys' house. It's like stepping into a dream.
And then, of course, there's the feast
Oh,
itself.
that feast. Mountains of food, every kind of dish you can imagine.
It's like a symbol, isn't it? Not just satisfying hunger, but nourishing his soul.
Yeah, it's like Hogwarts is saying, welcome home, Harry. You'll never be hungry here. You're safe now.
And even the ghosts, they contribute to that feeling of Hogwarts being this magical, welcoming place.
Right. Nearly headless Nick, so eager to welcome the new Gryffindors, to tell them all about the house and its history.
It's like even in death, they're still invested in the life of the school.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Adds to that feeling of Hogwarts being this living, breathing entity that goes beyond time.
And speaking of memorable characters, we can't forget about Dumbledore.
Oh, his entrance is almost as grand as the sorting ceremony itself. He just radiates this warmth, this power.
But then he gives this speech. Nitwit, blubber, oddman, tweak. I mean, what was that about?
Well, that's Dumbledore for you. He's powerful, wise, respected.
But he doesn't take himself too seriously.
Not one bit. He embraces the absurdity of life, and it sets the tone for the whole school.
Like Hogwarts is a place where rules are bent, where magic is normal.
And where even serious situations have a touch of whimsy.
And that whimsy is perfectly embodied in Peeves, the poltergeist.
Ooh, Peeves, always causing mischief, disrupting classes.
He's like the embodiment of Hogwarts' chaotic spirit.
And the only one who can control him, the Bloody Baron, the Slytherin ghost.
Like a reminder that even chaos needs boundaries, even in a world of magic.
Exactly. And finally, after all that excitement, Harry finds himself in the Gryffindor common room.
That cozy, warm space, full of squashy armchairs, a crackling fire.
It's like a haven from the chaos of the outside world, a place where Harry can finally relax and feel like he belongs.
It's the perfect ending to a magical first day.
And the beginning of everything, the adventures, the friendships, the challenges, it all starts there in that common room.
It's amazing how something as grand and magical as the sorting ceremony leads to a place of such simple comfort and belonging.
It is. It's a reminder that even the most extraordinary journeys can lead to the most ordinary, yet fulfilling destinations.
And for Harry, that destination is just the start of an epic adventure that will change the wizarding world forever. But before we dive into those adventures, let's take a moment to reflect on the deeper meaning of the sorting ceremony and what it might teach us about our own lives. We'll be back after a quick word from our sponsors. Welcome back to the deep dive.
Back to Hogwarts and the sorting ceremony.
You know, it's amazing how this one event, this magical sorting, it just captures our imaginations.
It really does. I think it's because deep down we all relate to that desire to find our place,
To find our people, our purpose.
Exactly. The sorting ceremony, it taps into that universal human need for belonging, to figure out where we fit in.
But it's not just about fitting in, is it? It's also about embracing what makes us unique.
You're right. It's about standing out even within that group, that house, that community.
So you find your tribe, but you also find your own voice within that tribe.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And it all starts with that moment of sorting, that decision, who you want to be.
We've talked about how the hat considers your personality, your potential.
But it also seems to consider your choices, your desires. Like Harry's fear of Slytherin.
Right. That played a part in him becoming a Gryffindor.
Exactly. So even in this magical system, free will still matters. We're not just puppets of fate.
We have the power to choose.
Absolutely. And that choice, that theme of choice versus destiny, it runs through all the Harry Potter books.
Harry's constantly at these crossroads, having to make these decisions. He could choose the easy path, the darker path.
But he always comes back to those Gryffindor values. Courage, loyalty, standing up for what's right.
Even when it's hard.
Even when it's dangerous. It's a powerful message, isn't it?
It really is. We may not have sorting hats or magical schools.
But we all face choices in our lives.
Choices that shape who we are, the impact we have on the world.
We have the power to choose our values, to define our own path.
To create our own kind of magic, I guess you could say.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the sorting ceremony,
Let's remember that this magical event, it's more than just a fantasy.
it's a reflection of our own journeys,
our own search for belonging, for purpose,
For the courage to be ourselves.
and be our truest selves.
And in a world that can sometimes feel ordinary.
There's magic to be found
And the choices we make.
in the connections we forge.
And in the values we hold dear.
Thank you for joining us on this magical journey.
We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the sorting ceremony.
And that you'll keep finding wonder and inspiration in the world of Harry Potter.
And beyond.